There is only a part 2 to this video because I had technical difficulties as always. That seems to be something that is on my Christmas list for an improvement on how I record these videos. But we were touching base on business building topics from October 1913. And this was an article detailing how cigar shops should maintain the proper care of their stock, and as applied to dealers in smaller country towns. It details the necessity for proper storage facilities, display one box only of a kind, but I also noticed that they have an article on how to make a humidor. And as well as that, you have here a clay cylinder moistener. And this is one of the things that I was showing you a picture of earlier, that this was employed in maintaining the cigar. So as you can see, an ordinary thermometer is also useful, as the temperature in the case should be kept below 65 Fahrenheit and the humidity not over 75 nor below 55. A place should be selected for this humidor away from close proximity to the stove or heating plant, and if the cellar or basement is a dry one and not subject to excessive heat, that is the most suitable location. Nevertheless, there are many stores where it can be kept on the main floor in a cool, dry, and dark corner. This same article details something that I found also a little interesting. Climate necessitates variation in temperature. It is an interesting fact that in all stores in southern Florida, as well as on the island of Cuba, cigars are commonly kept in open boxes on top of the showcase and counter, where the natural humidity in the atmosphere keeps them so moist that a visitor from our section will at first think them too wet to smoke. However, he soon learns to appreciate the real bouquet of fresh cigars. This is an advertisement for Prince Albert, and it specifically states, Prince Albert paves the way for men to get a new and cheerful understanding of how good a pipe or rolled cigarette can be. If you think you can't smoke a pipe or a Macon's cigarette, if you are taste tired, we tell you Prince Albert will bring you back without any fuss or feathers. Quick, the patented process fixes that and cuts out bite and parch. And that is a Prince Albert humidor for pipe tobacco and also cigarettes. As you can see here, where I highlighted, it states 10 humidors, and in that classy pound crystal glass humidor with sponge moistener top that keeps the tobaccos in such fine trim. R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. This article here from the Midland Druggist and Pharmaceutical Review from January 1918. And in it, we have an article that details electric humidor for cigars. And I highlighted this. There is a part here. A thermostat arrangement is necessary so that the temperature of the water may be regulated. A thermometer is placed in the water to take temperature. The temperature required in an ordinary size case is about 70 degrees. During the winter months, when the room is being heated, the cigars require more moisture than during the summer months. And in our case, we kept a temperature of 90 degrees with an electric moistener. Another reason for keeping the cigars moist is that if they become dry, they are liable to become inhabited by tobacco beetle, the dreaded tobacco beetle. This article from the Retail Tobacconist, dated from November 17th, 1921, has various articles on how to maintain a store stock of cigars. But one thing that I wanted you to see was the moisteners. Keep your cigars in perfect condition. Buy the best made to order moisteners. And that is the company. They claim to sell them all over the world. But I want to show you this. This is Chicago Company offers new type humidor. Okay, and here you see the new humidor is about the size of an average cigar. It is made of blown glass and filled with chemically prepared sponge or with asbestos wool. It is made to fit in a box of cigars or a jar of tobacco. The manufacturers claim for the Little Giant humidor that it will keep a box of cigars in good condition and works as well as a high-priced cabinet. They are packed with 1 dozen to a carton and go to the trade at 10 cents each to jobbers and 15 cents each to retailers and retail at 25 cents each. The company will send a sample, Little Giant Humidor, on application. In the same magazine, we can see here Old Man Climate can't kill an El Dalo, each cigar in its own humidor, made by Weathermeyer Brothers, Baltimore, Maryland. And this is what I think the beginning of a trend where cigars are sold in a box, the whole box of cigars, and the box is a humidor. Thus, you're purchasing cigars, and you're purchasing a humidor. Sort of a very smart way to get the consumer to purchase a box of his favorite cigars and have something to keep them in, and you can reuse after you've done with the cigars. In the same review magazine, you have here an advertisement for cigar moisteners, for showcases and wall cases. And that's on 598 DeKalb Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Finally, we get to the United States Department of Agriculture Bulletin number 1007. And this is from June 5th, 1922. And it's the utilization of basswood. Now, at this point in time, the demand for Spanish cedar has grown to a point where they've got to come up with other resources, other types of wood in order to make these humidors, cigar boxes, cigar cases. And in this particular review here, they go on to detail all of the fine points of basswood. And it goes on to state how it can be used for a variety of things. But then it gets to tobacco boxes. And when it gets to tobacco boxes, what you have here is a description of why it is a great substitute for Spanish cedar. Because of the difficulty of obtaining Spanish cedar, which is the standard cigar box wood, a large number of substitutes are employed. A satisfactory wood for cigar boxes would work well into thin lumber or veneer, hold its shape, nail without splitting, and have an attractive appearance. Basswood, stained to resemble Spanish cedar, is probably the best substitute. The imitation is made even more complete by passing the thin lumber between rollers which stamp it to give the appearance of the genuine cedar, and the cedar odor may be imparted by washing it with extract of cedar, shavings, and sawdust. Only the highest grade of lumber is used for this purpose. So there you have it. Cigar boxes, cigar cases, humidors as we know them now, I believe were born October 25th, 1878. And I think that you can easily make of it what you will in regards to who started doing it beforehand and just didn't submit a patent. And you'll have to excuse me for making the mistake of saying 1878 when it was really 1887 is what I really meant to say. 1887, October 25th, is when I think the humidor was born. That is when Senor Sigmund Cohen introduced his patent for the humidor as we know it now. Now, one can argue that because they've been making cigar boxes and cigar cases long before that, that the humidor could have probably been invented by someone else. And while this may be true, they didn't submit a patent, so they don't get the credit. In my book, you've got to submit the patent. At least that's what I believe. And that's what my research has indicated, that Sigmund Cohen and a few others that followed afterward that made improvements to the humidor were the ones responsible for making the humidor that we now trust and love today. Throughout the years, many improvements have been made to the humidor. We know that in the olden days, we had humidors made of oak, mahogany, walnut, cedar, red cedar, and even then they knew that Spanish cedar was the superior wood for making a humidor. But resources were low for Spanish cedar and they needed to come up with options. So back in the day, you will have a lot of different cigar boxes and humidors made of different materials. I would reckon that in some cases, a poor old sap might even make one out of pine. People were making them for themselves at home. So you had a whole lot of different options when it came to how you were going to make the humidor and out of what. You have some cases that are made out of metal. It's one of the warnings that they put forth was not to choose a humidor made out of something that could corrode. And I think they were really referring to those early cigar humidors that were made out of either tin or silver. In the case of silver, I don't think it would necessarily corrode, but it just did not impart that scent that Spanish cedar gives off to its cigars. In addition to that, the other kinds of improvements made to our humidors nowadays with built-in hygrometers and temperature control, all of these things have obviously made the humidor something much more of a luxury and more of a necessity for us. Well, back in those days, they started off with jugs and jars. We still have jugs and jars now that are made of acrylic, but we don't put as much artwork into the cigar jugs and jars that we have today. So what I say to you is happy birthday, humidor. And thank you for maintaining our cigars. And thank you for all those wonderful inventors of the 1870s and on that made a really great product for cigar lovers to maintain their cigars. And I thank you for watching such a long video. And I thank you again for visiting Backyard Cigars. If you have any questions whatsoever, leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you.